and welcome to this, and this will be my Hard Justice review, though the review part will be at the end. This is really going to be me talking a lot about different things with TNA, and if you just want to see, what I thought of it, and you don't want to wait through the entire video, you can look at the description box, see what's up, and see what I thought of it. Other than that, I'm going to really talk about pretty much everything people have been asking me about TNA, the Jeff Jarrett thing, the Kurt Angle thing that happened this weekend, everything that's kind of gone on, and some stuff that maybe you don't know as well. Not news-shattering stuff, but just some informational things that I found interesting, and just to share them. A lot of people have asked me to talk about Impact since Jeff Jarrett left, I shouldn't say left, but was forced out. For those of you that know, and probably everybody watching this video knows, Jeff Jarrett was sent home packing because it was found out publicly, though apparently people knew about it in TNA, that he had Karen Angle living with him. This upset Kurt Angle. Apparently TNA was scared that Kurt Angle would leave for WWE when his contract was up, so they said, Jeff, you gotta go home, bye, we might even buy you out, we'll see you later. I don't agree with that. I'm just going to say that right now. I'm not saying that because of things that happened later. I'm going to say this right now. This is fucking pro wrestling. If every guy got so pissed off that guys were kicked out of the company every time that their girlfriends or their exes were sleeping with somebody else in the company, then, there would be a whole lot of guys out of work. Let me just put it that way. This is nothing new. This has happened forever. Back in the 80s, you guys can go and find the stories. I mean, this is really nothing huge and marvelous. Is it a crappy thing that Jeff did? Yeah, it's a crappy thing. I'm not going to say it's not. But at the same time, it's pro wrestling. This stuff happens in pro wrestling. Get over it, Kurt. Easy for me to say, I know. But, of course, he left, giving Vince Russo full control of the shows, and we go from there. Though he doesn't have full control. It's kind of, as far as who does the matches and the storylines and all that, it's Russo. They've given, like on the pay-per-view tonight, for example, apparently Cornette booked the Hernandez Rob Terry match. I will get into that and why that match was really good. I know that sounds odd, but it was. So that apparently Terry Taylor is doing some stuff too, so there's all of that going on, and apparently TNA is looking for other people as well. Of course, Jim, ECW Hardcore, he kind of did an announcement from a lot of us that knew this, that a lot of the wrestlers apparently had gone to Dixie Carter, asked Dixie Carter if, what about Gabe? What about Paul Heyman bringing in? And her words were, well, we want to go in a different direction. We want somebody more with a Hollywood background experience. Apparently that's what she wanted. Yeah, that upsets me, because you're basically saying we want to be WWE light, if that's what you're saying, because that's worked so wonderful for the WWE. Not saying that you can't bring in a Hollywood guy and he wouldn't be good, because I do think that a guy like that would have his place. The problem is you would have to pair him up with someone who's actually been in the business, someone that with a lot of experience in the business, so that you'd have a guy tell him, okay, this is what works, this is what doesn't work, that sort of thing. So there you go. Kind of what you need with, in my opinion, with Russo already. So there you go. Let's see, where do we go from there? Okay. Anyways, so that happened. Yippee! And of course, let's see, what they brought back Dinero apparently to be the road agent for the knockouts, which will be good. We didn't really see that so much tonight, but that should be good. So that's happened. But the thing that I want to talk about is, and I don't have this last week's, but Dave Meltzer, Wrestling Observer, when he has the information, he releases it, and it's not just the ratings. He gives what Impact did in the ratings, but he also breaks it down per segment, and what each segment did, and how many viewers they gained or lost. So I'm going to go over this just to give you guys an idea and just to kind of show something that I find interesting and kind of crazy. The first thing is that the 723 Impact, it got a 1.31 rating, got 1.8 million viewers here in the U.S. Right out of the bat, the Mafia interview with Mick Foley lost 27,000 views. Right out of the bat. Then Kevin Nash taking on Amazing Red, somehow, I don't know how, gained 55,000 views. So gained back all the viewers they lost and then some. Then Booker T and Scott Steiner versus the Security Guard segment from that show, it gained 124,000 viewers. Now, I know most of you are probably pulling your hair out saying, oh my god, you're kidding. Oh, but get this. The Women's Battle Royal, on top of what Booker T and Scott Steiner got, gained another 96,000. So they almost gained another 100,000 viewers and had the show's highest rating at a 1.43. Then Beer Money, AJ Styles, and Daniels and Eric Young taking on the British Invasion, Koyoshi, and Sheikh Abdul Bashir. That lost 179,000 viewers, so pretty much everything that they gained kind of lost in that one segment. Then Mick Foley versus Kurt Angle in the pole match lost another 110,000 viewers. So no, pole matches definitely do not draw. We see that right here. Okay, the 200th episode of Impact, which they kind of, pushed kind of hard, was a 1.29 rating, had 1.8 million viewers, and Samoa Joe and Hernandez lost 251,000 views after the Mafia interview, which opened the show at a 1.39. Okay, and that was the highest rated segment of that show, was the Mafia interview, and then Samoa Joe and Hernandez lost 251,000. That's kind of surprising to me, but we'll get on more with the Hernandez stuff. Backstage stuff with Taz and Joe, AJ Styles, Mick Foley, Bobby Lashley, that gained 14,000 viewers. Matt Morgan versus Abyss, or Matt Morgan versus AJ Styles, that gained another 14,000 viewers. ODB, Tara, Awesome Kong, Angelina Love, Velvet Sky, Madison Rain gained 195,000 viewers. That's right, they almost gained 200,000 viewers on their own. That they almost gained everything that Samoa Joe and Hernandez lost. Or I shouldn't say almost, but they got a good portion of that back. Eric Young interview lost 14,000 viewers. Team 3D versus the British Invasion, okay, that lost 112,000 viewers. The main event of Kurt Angle, Kevin Nash, Bobby Lashley, Mick Foley, that gained 126,000 viewers to do a 1.35 final quarter hour. Okay, Impact on 8/6, that did a 1.17 rating with 1.6 million viewers. You had Daniels versus Eric Young, with Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, Sheikh Abdul and Koyoshi in the corners gained 178,000 viewers right off the bat. Then Beer Money, Team 3D versus Doug Williams and Rob Terry and Scott Steiner and Booker T. That gained 41,000 viewers. The Out of Control Brawl, the big brawl. This was the brawl show that they hyped up big time. That gained 82,000 viewers. Okay. Then Alicia Flash, Tracy Brooks, Sarita, I guess it's Sarita, and Taylor Wilde gained another 123,000 viewers and had the peak rating of the show of a 1.32. Okay. The sit down with Hernandez, okay, this was them trying to build up Hernandez, that lost 233,000 viewers. Look, I like Hernandez. I've pretty much followed Hernandez since he was down here wrestling down here in Texas. For anybody who had any idea who he was, I think he'd be good. I definitely don't think when they started this, I was kind of like, wow, is this really the guy? Is this really the guy they need to be, that they picked? Now, I'm glad they did it because it's something different and they're actually pushing somebody. But to really do that, I don't know about that. And then AJ Styles versus Matt Morgan, that gained 27,000 viewers. And the Sting versus Brutus Magnus main event, that gained 40,000 viewers, and with a final quarter hour of 1.20. Okay, so what's the point of all these numbers? I just spewed it out. The point is this, that for whatever reason, TNA, and then there's more numbers that I didn't include, such as demographics and that sort of thing. But if you read over that, you find out that TNA actually does very well with the I think it's over 30 crowd, particularly because of the knockouts. The knockouts are, and this goes back even if you go back a couple of shows before this, and you go to the pay-per-view before, going from pay-per-view before this, that the knockouts are a continual draw. They get some of the highest ratings on the show. We saw this when you just had, when it was built around Awesome Kong and Gail Kim. Now you got women that most of these guys don't even know, most of the fans, and they still outdraw a lot of the men on here. So I think that is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, and the fact that it's continually happened, there's enough information to show this isn't just like a one-time deal, and why you wouldn't put on, give the women like one big segment at least, and a fairly long match on Impact, or 2 matches on Impact, for example. I don't know why you wouldn't do any of that. Just saying. I don't know. But my other point is they kind of decided Hernandez would be the guy to kind of go with. Same thing with Matt Morgan. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not one of these people that hate Matt Morgan. I think Matt Morgan could be very good. My problem with Matt Morgan is kind of TNA let him go out there and not wrestle like a big guy, and Matt Morgan needs to wrestle as a big man. He needs to wrestle like a big man and not just kind of show off his athleticism. The Undertaker, when he was in his prime, was very athletic, could do things other big men couldn't do. But Vince and the guys in the WWF at the time, WWE, made sure that he did not do a lot of those things. Why? Because then he wouldn't look like a big man. Because really he's 6'10", and there were a lot of guys even then that were the same height as him. But because he wrestled like a big man, he seemed like he was bigger. He seemed like he was 7'2" instead of 6'10", which he really is. So I believe 6'10" or 6'11". So because he was built like that and because he wrestled like that, it made him look more like a big man. Matt Morgan, that's how he should have always been doing it. That's how he's been doing it now, and I think it works a little better. But the fact that he hasn't been doing it, I think, has kind of hurt him. And I just don't think Hernandez, because you can't just say, okay, we're going to push a young guy, let's push a guy. Okay, Hernandez would be good because we want to push someone the Latinos can get behind. That's fine. But you can't just push a guy right out of the bat. You do have to kind of lead up to it. You have to either if he's hot, you can do that. But Hernandez isn't a guy that is necessarily hot. He's just a guy, really. He's a guy that people like, and you can't just put him over Joe and think that's going to be enough to just have him go, because it came out of virtually nowhere. I remember when I read the spoilers, I was like, wow, really? This is kind of surprising. And maybe eventually it'll work, but I think it does bring up some that maybe they're not pushing the right young guy. I know that seems kind of strange because people have been saying, hey, you need to push some of the younger talent. They're finally doing it, and then you're saying, well, you're not pushing the right young talent. That sounds bad because, and I feel bad for saying it because I like Hernandez. I just don't think he's the right guy. And I think if you ask a lot of people, people would say, yeah, you're right. He's not the right guy necessarily. But again, kind of the point of all that is just to kind of show you that of what the numbers are, and the fact that the knockouts are the thing that draws the most. And why is that? Is it just because they are packaged in a way that is different from the Divas and different from the WWE? And if that's the case, why wouldn't you do more things that are different from the WWE? Not just the style of wrestling, but why would you try to copy the WWE by using guys, the old guys? Just saying, and thinking that that's the way to go. I'm not saying you don't bring in WWE guys, because there's, tonight we saw Elijah Burke coming in as the Pope. We saw, we're gonna see Ken Anderson. Both of those guys, I would say, they should have signed. There's no reason why they shouldn't sign those guys. But to just sign guys because they're WWE guys, to me, is the kind of the wrong thing, because I think one of the problems that even the WWE faces is the fact they haven't built up anybody. And people want to see new people. People are tired of seeing the same people over and over and over and over again. Doesn't mean you can't use the older stars, because definitely you can, but you have to use them in a way to help build up the younger stars. And if you don't do that, then it's just kind of pointless and that sort of thing. But, so you have all of that going on. Of course, you had Dutch Mantell getting fired. I didn't even talk about that, which, you know, I didn't cry. I don't think anyone else cried about that. Not that it's great that a guy got fired, but I don't think anyone was kind of sad to see him go from a fan's perspective. You had all of that. Then we had this weekend where it was announced that, or it wasn't announced, but it came to light that Kurt Angle was arrested for apparently stalking his girlfriend, and he got caught with HGH in his possession when he got arrested. So he got arrested. Now, he got arrested. He went to jail, which means that he was doing something enough to where they took him to jail. And a lot of people thought, well, okay, is he going to be able to make the pay-per-view? Well, he was able to make bond and make the pay-per-view. Then people were like, okay, well, then what's going to happen? And that leads us to this review, and I will talk about that in this review, among some other things as well, as we're actually going to get to the review portion of this. But, yeah, very, very, very interesting pay-per-view, to say the least. We started out with the Steel Cage Asylum, the Terror Dome. I wish it was the Terror Dome. I wish it was AAA's Terror Dome, because I think that's what AAA calls it. Because that thing is so much better, because you can actually see inside it. You can actually see what's going on, unlike this thing where you can't really see what's going on. And on top of that, you have the most horrible production crew for a wrestling program I've ever seen. You know, this guy, the guy that is in the production truck for TNA, he has his job because he's buddies with Jeff Jarrett. Of all the people that are being let go because they're buddies with Jeff Jarrett, this guy isn't let go. This guy is the most incompetent guy, in my opinion, in TNA. And I don't like saying that. I don't want to sit here and say that the guy sucks at his job, but he does suck at his job. He's horrible at his job. Could we at least get somebody, could we at least have someone with a brain? So, you know what, maybe we should get the guy that helped lay out the match, okay, the agent, the road agent that helped lay out the match. Maybe we should put him in the truck with the production crew so that he can give the production crew, okay, this is what should happen next. This is the spot that should happen next. This should be the spot that happens next. You have a spot fest, and spot fests are laid out that way. This is what should happen next. This is who you want to keep the camera on. Instead, you're missing spots. You're missing spots right and left. There was stuff where it was like, oh my God, did I see what I thought I saw? Finally, when they finally did the replay at the end of the match, it was like, oh yeah, I did see what I saw. That's too bad, because this match was fucking awesome. This was great. This was just amazing. And on top of that, we had a great debut. We did. Elijah Burke debuted as Pope Dinero. I think it has his name, Pope Dinero. And I guess he's supposed to be some sort of preacher or something. But this was awesome. And let me tell you something. WWE, you fucked up letting that guy go. Because that guy put on a freaking performance. That guy was in there with guys that most people, I think, would say, oh, are maybe a step or a step or two above how good he is, particularly coming from the WWE style. This guy went out there and busted his ass. Was, in my opinion, the star of this match. Maybe it was booked that way, but he was booked as the star of that match. I don't think anyone's going to complain about it. One thing that he did that almost nobody else did is he actually sold during the match. Thank God, an X Division guy that just doesn't go out there and do spot and sell for 10 minutes. He was actually selling for most of the match. The match was a spot fest, but it was a great spot fest. The end was kind of strange with Dinero not going for the win, but instead attacking Suicide. So I guess, you know, they'll do some sort of angle there. But this was I could not even talk about all the spots they saw. And actually at one point we thought we were going to see the Tower of Doom. So we saw the Tower of Doom, but it wasn't quite the Tower of Doom that we thought we were going to see. And it was much cooler and much better, and it was very innovative and just wow. Great way to start off the pay-per-view without question. Next we had Abyss versus Jethro Holiday, which I was not looking forward to. I was like, this isn't going to be very good. And actually, it was okay. It was, it was much better than anything right to be. It was your basic Abyss hardcore type of match in this whole, huge angle. Chairs, guy, it started out a lot. I thought it was going to actually maybe wind up being a pretty good match the way it started out, because they started out with a kind of a small, fast pace, then they kind of slowed it down, and it kind of just became a big man match, which was, it was okay. Next we had Hernandez versus Rob Terry. Big Rob Terry. This is the match that apparently, Jim Cornette booked. Which you can tell. Why can you tell? I don't think anybody in their right mind wanted to see this match. I think people saw this on the card and said, this is going to be the worst fucking match on the card. No offense during Big Rob Terry. No offense during Hernandez. Just, I don't think anybody thought this was going to be very good. And so, what does Jim Cornette do? He says, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a 9-second match where Hernandez just beats the crap out of the British Invasion and try to make him even look like a bigger superstar than he is, have him win back the case, make the fans think that maybe at the end, that, Hernandez will come out and beat Kurt Angle. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. The only thing I would say probably wasn't perfect is the British Invasion looked kind of but, they got their revenge in the next match, so that was fine. I have no problems with this match. I have no problems with this match going very long at all. I usually gripe because matches go too long, because there's just some matches don't need to go long. This was one of those matches. Didn't need to go long, didn't really need to be on the pay-per-view, and went out there and did its job without being totally stupid. So, there we go. Then we had Beer Money versus British Invasion. This probably could have went a little longer than it did. The finish seemed to kind of come out of nowhere, but you had lots of good spots. You had some comedy spots. The British Invasion, Brutus Magnus, when he first came in, we all dogged him. The guy's gotten a lot better, I will say. And I think this gimmick fits him a lot better. Teaming him up with Doug Williams has helped him a lot. The Beer Money guys have been pretty much money since they've been put together, to my huge, big surprise. So, good match. Nothing horrendous. Nothing great either. Probably could have been a little better, but if it had gone a little longer, but it didn't, so it was fine. It was good match. Then we had ODB with Cody Dinero taking on Angelina Love with Love and Velvet Sky. Okay, for the championship. If whoever got the pin won the championship. That was kind of the way this turned out, I guess. And the way they made it, I don't know. But this is the way it turned out. So everyone thought, okay, Cody Dinero is going to win, and he's going to win the championship. Which is what happened. But you know what? This match actually wasn't too bad. This was a complete comedy match. They didn't play it up to be anything but a comedy match. Velvet Sky got, I believe, what did Velvet Sky? I don't know. There was kissing going on, spanking going on with Cody Dinero. It was crazy. Cody Dinero was being a geek, but his whole gimmick is a geek. ODB was being ODB's obnoxious self. The beautiful people were being the beautiful people. It worked. There was nothing horrendous about it. I'm sure some people will totally bury this match, but you know what? It was funny, and it was entertaining, and that's what it was meant to be. People will gripe because now Cody Diner's, the Knockouts champion. You know what? So what? Awesome Kong comes out, beats him in 10 seconds. And you got an easy fix to the situation. Or Cody Dinero loses to the women or ODB. There's ways around it. It's not, to me, a total burial, because you figure at some point one of the girls is going to beat Cody Dinero. So, and the way that they did it at the end, where ODB was like holding the championship, and then Cody Dinero was like, no, I want it, and he ran off, was kind of silly. So, it's fine, in my opinion. Next we had Samoa Joe versus Homicide. I thought this was going to be a lot better. But for whatever reason, right when it looked like it was about to just punch into that next gear, the match just kind of ended. It kind of fell flat. It was still a good match, and it still was enjoyable, but it just didn't get up into that next gear like I thought it was going to, and that's unfortunate. I think it seemed like the fans were waiting for it just to get up to that next gear. and it never did. I'll be honest. Joe needs to lose about 20 pounds because in this match he was a little sloppy in there, and it was kind of like that with the Sting match that he had, but I didn't know how much of that was him and how much of that was Sting. He's definitely a little sloppy in there. He definitely needs to lose about 20 pounds. You know, if I was TNA, I would take him off the road for a little bit, just have him do the TV tapings, tell him he's got to lose some weight, and be at that. Not that I think they will do that, and I will get to that in a minute. Team 3D versus Booker T and Scott Steiner. I didn't enjoy this very much. It was okay. The brawl part was okay, but there was just, it was like, I don't know. It was just kind of there. I didn't really enjoy it. The crowd loved it. They were crowning this as awesome and all sorts of stuff, and I'm like, I don't see what you guys are seeing, so I'm not even going to worry about it. And, you know, and again, the production truck sucked ass. It sucked ass during this whole event. You know, the only time that those guys ever get their cues right is if it involves showing the women's ass or breasts. That's it. That's the only time they ever get their cues right. Every once in a while, when you miss shit, it sucks. And there is that. Then we had Mick Foley versus Kevin Nash. Star and a half. I didn't really enjoy it, and I feel kind of bad for doing that because they definitely both went out there and tried. They both, you know, bladed pretty hard. You know, there was a lot of blood. It just was just kind of there though, and they definitely tried. And I liked the end of the match. I thought the end of the match was pretty good. With Abyss coming out, so you know, but we missed the finish. We missed the finish of the. We pretty almost missed the entire finish of the match. So, production crew, you suck. And then we had Kurt Angle versus Sting versus Matt Morgan. Okay. So, everybody figures Kurt Angle's going to lose. Okay, Kurt Angle's going to lose because they're going to say, okay, you're suspended, go take care of whatever it is you got to take care of in your personal life, then come back. What do? Nope, sorry. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to go out there, we're going to have this messed up finish, which it was. It was just this weird finish where Sting and Matt Morgan both almost beat each other. Matt Morgan actually looked better than I think he has looked since he's been in TNA. He looked like a star in this match, in my opinion. I might be wrong. People don't have to agree with me. I don't care. But, and then Kurt Angle loses. Or Kurt Angle comes in, wins. So basically, you got a guy who, if he was in the WWE, would be suspended, without question, in my opinion. And it's just, it's nutty, in my opinion. I don't get it. I don't understand it, and it perplexes me. And I lost a lot of respect for TNA. I really did, because I just can't see giving this guy the title because it's just it totally just boggles my freaking mind, and it amazes me. And yet this guy is the same guy that keeps saying he's going to get the book, that he ran off Jeff Jarrett. He's got all this political power in TNA. Apparently Dixie Carter is willing to give him all of this power so that he doesn't jump to the WWE when his contract's up. Are they going to even take him? I mean, really? I mean, apparently he's as psycho as he ever has been. If you believe the police reports. So, my God. And you know what? I could go on about this forever, but I'm just going to copy what Dave Meltzer said and let you guys read it. I'm not even going to read it. I'm just going to let you guys read it. It'll be at the end of the video. But overall, this pay-per-view was just kind of there in my opinion. It had that one opening match and then it just kind of went downhill. And I think if you were watching the pay-per-view, you probably felt like that. You probably felt like the whole match was just that it was going to go downhill, and it did. And there were moments where you thought maybe this would be a good pay-per-view. The first half of this pay-per-view is good. This first half of this pay-per-view is as good as TNA has been, in my opinion, in a long time. The second half of this pay-per-view represents every bad thing about TNA. You had the Main Event Mafia basically now have all but one of the titles, and they hinted at the fact of that they might be getting all of the titles. And the one title they don't have, Cody Dinero has. You had, well, I guess, and they don't have the IWGP titles, but does that really count? Really, not that they're not important. Not saying they're not important. Just saying, does that really count in the context of TNA? You know, you had Mick Foley versus Kevin Nash, a match that never should have taken place. They went out there and tried, and I don't want to diss either of these guys because they definitely went out there and tried, but it just, you know, it wasn't enjoyable to watch. Match never should have taken place. Team 3D versus Booker T and Scott Steiner. That match never should have taken place, in my opinion. The main event, hey, the main event was what the main event was. I really have no problem with them putting the match together, but it just wasn't a good match because of probably outside stuff and the end just sapped everything away, and everything else that happened just kind of sapped everything away. You know, and this I was so indifferent after the pay-per-view, but the opener is excellent. The opener is awesome in my opinion, and I would recommend checking it out just for that. But anyways, that is that. Like I said, I will leave a quote of Dave Meltzer at the end of this video because I think he hits the nail with the hammer right on the head perfectly. With that,